Let's get to this. Breaking news on the fate of former Ontario PC leader Patrick Brown. A source telling CTV News he has been green-lit by the Provincial Nominations Committee. Brown meeting with the nomination committee at party headquarters Tuesday night. The former opposition leader had been booted from the PC caucus last week, meaning he must sit as an independent in the Ontario legislature. And we should mention Carolyn Mulroney is the only other candidate at this time who has already passed the process. Doug Ford, Christine Elliott, Tanya Granajalan have completed the vetting process. We're awaiting decisions on them as well. And the race to replace Patrick Brown began when he resigned as Ontario PC leader last month amid sexual misconduct allegations made by two women on CTV News. Brown has fully denied the allegations. CTV News stands by its story. All right, let's bring in our political analyst, Scott Reid. He joins us now with more details on this particular story. Scott, did you anticipate that he would get the green light to go ahead here?
I thought it was a bit of a mug's game at 50-50. Look, on the face of it, there's really no objective reason that you would greenlight him, not with all these allegations hanging over him. Party members of, people that were his caucus supporters just a few weeks ago now calling him basically corrupt, suggesting that there's financial improprieties, missing memberships, maybe missing money, unpaid trips, all these kinds of things, an investigation possibly underway by the Integrity Commissioner. So Patrick Brown, let's put it this way. Patrick Brown would not have greenlit Patrick Brown if he was still leader. That's the way his rules work. But I think in this perverse circumstance, the nominating committee decided, look, it's the least grotesque of two inhumanly grotesque options available to them, because if they hadn't greenlighted him, it would have been an even greater spectacle and an even greater prospect of civil war.
What do they look at when they're making these decisions? I mean, what are they looking into? Are they looking into background? Are they looking into present allegations? What specifically do they turn to when they make this decision?
Well, I don't know what in hell they could have been looking at that allowed them on an objective basis to determine that he should go forward in today's decision. I can tell you in party circumstances that I've been involved in, a green light committee will typically look at a number of things. Do you have any outstanding taxes owed? If you do, sorry, you can't run. You got to clean that stuff up. We're not going into it. Any police charges, any police allegations, any sort of suggestion of impropriety that's hanging over you, the kind of thing like if there is to be a process with the Integrity Commissioner, because, again, a Conservative MPP has actually made a complaint to the Integrity Commissioner. So you would typically look at those kinds of processes, those kinds of questions, and you would say that would be the basis for disqualification. If you lie to party officials and they find out later that something you represented turned out to be untrue, that again would be grounds for dismissal. But what basis they came to here, I think it was a pure realpolitik decision. They decided that it would be harder to say no than it would be to say yes.
Would they not have consulted, and again, we don't necessarily know how it is run, but would they not have consulted the Integrity Commissioner and say, okay, we understand that there has been an inquiry or suggestion of a problem. What's your take on that? Where are you on that? What's your input?
My guess is no. Certainly, I would think that the Integrity Commissioner would not want anything to do with that request, because you've got two very different processes. This is a partisan party process. And the Integrity Commissioner is an officer, an agent of the legislature, and they would want to keep very independent of that partisan, independent of the party. It doesn't matter if it's PC, Liberal, NDP. You just wouldn't want anything to do with that. So I would suspect that they may not have even bothered to ask, but certainly I would think the Integrity Commissioner would say, you guys will have to make your decisions based on your challenges. I'll make my decisions based on my reading of the facts. So I don't think that would have been an option that was available to them.
All right. So, Scott, based on that, how deeply divided do you think the Ontario PC party is?
I think pretty divided. I think that Patrick Brown's this, show of support, this notion that there's this groundswell of populist excitement for his candidacy, I think that's largely bollocks. I don't really think there's a big, huge Patrick Brown movement within the party, but there's a constituency. There is a certain constituency for him. And I think that, his decision to put himself first and to put himself forward, to use the party leadership as a mechanism to clear his name of these allegations, I think that has created a situation where it is very internally strafe. And so, and sorry to rattle on, but I'll just say one thing more, Marilla. One thing that's really interesting about this, and we just have to do a time check for a moment. 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, the very same people who are placing in writing allegations of financial misconduct, sexual misconduct, all sorts of other terrible activities on the part of Patrick Brown would have had us believe that he should be the next premier. So at some point, the more that the party itself celebrates his inadequacies and his past sins, it begs the question of, well, then why were you ever behind him? What was the principal basis upon which your support was previously expressed? Because not all this stuff just popped up overnight. Some of these allegations, presumably, these very same people were aware of before.
Let's talk for a moment then about contenders, other contenders for that leadership race. Do they address this? Some of them have not even been cleared to move ahead in the process.
Well, it'll be interesting. I think if I was Caroline Mulroney, I would want to be presenting myself as the fresh outsider that can rise above all this nonsense. I think some camps have been fueling a little bit of the fire, making certain that Brown blows up skywide and handsome. They're feeding some stuff out to the media and facilitating some of these stories. And, let's take Doug Ford as an example. I think if you're Ford, arguably this could play into your hands because Ford's whole argument for his candidacy is that he is an outsider. He is an insurgent. He will shake up the party brass. The party is all mixed up. And every single day, the spectacle we see around Patrick Brown kind of proves Doug Ford right. And so maybe this will all benefit him. I would certainly be pounding on that drum if I was Doug Ford.
All right, I guess we'll see if he's going to pound away once he gets cleared to run. He hasn't been cleared yet, right? It's just been Caroline Mulroney.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
I think in the case of the other remaining candidates, people think that it's pretty much a foregone conclusion, although we might not want to make that assumption out of hand about Tanya Greenwich Allen. I watch that space.
All right. Got to leave there. Scott Reid, sir, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.